Your highs, your lows, your loves, your losses. This is Your Soul Care Companion podcast, hosted by Marcus and Marion. Your Soul Care Companion podcast, the place where faith, passion, and determination create the greatest stories ever told.
Hey guys, we are your Soul Care Companions. I'm Marcus.
And I'm Marion.
And we are so delighted to have a very special guest with us today. This particular guest can be found on Facebook posting stuff at 3 a.m. I don't know, like she keeps really late hours. And this is one post that she posted very recently. I forgive. I love without condition. I strive for understanding and meet people where they are. Thank God for his perfect peace. Today, our guest is Keesha Coleman. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I guess we'll start off with this quote. Where did this come from?
It actually came from a conversation that I overheard between two of my sorority sisters about a situation that they were dealing with. And I just paused in the moment because it was leading to a conflict. And I thought, if she just stops to understand where she's coming from, if she just hears her, because that's what I did. In the middle of the conflict, I listened, and I'm like, there's a root to that issue. There's a root to that problem, and we're going to focus on an escalated conversation that doesn't have to go in that direction or go that route because we're not looking at the root of it. And I was able to, help navigate and kind of peacefully resolve it. But I wouldn't attribute that to just me being, mighty Keesha or anything like that. I really do believe that a lot of my ability in that regard to resolve conflict and to just be at peace in situations is my faith. A lot of people always ask about, how do you do this and how do you do that and how do you avoid? I'm like, it's not about avoiding. It's just about channeling and dealing with things a different way. And it becomes less of a stressor for me because I do rely on God for that God direction and that sort of intuition. So, it was just birthed out of that. And I do that. I have moments, I have experiences, and I feel like if you share it, you might touch one person, you might touch 100. You don't know. But I think you can touch somebody, and I think that's just important. Not to just do it for likes or anything of that nature. But somebody needs to hear it.
Absolutely. Tell us more about said faith. Because I noticed you said faith, not religion.
Yeah. I have a relationship.
Okay.
I do not believe in religion. I think religion institutionalizes us, and I think it creates barriers in natural and organic relationships with people from all different walks of life. Relationship and my faith in, I believe God, I believe in God, I believe in the Bible, but I don't believe in walking around beating people on the head with the Bible and telling them about their lives and what's good and what's not good, what's right and what's not right. My responsibility is to love. And if I am loving you without condition, then we are building our lives together no matter the differences, no matter the restraints, or no matter what we might disagree in. That's not my responsibility. If you seek my advice, I'll respectfully give you my insight and my input, but that doesn't make it the law. That doesn't make it gospel. And I think that's one of the reasons I do have such fruitful relationships, is because I don't spend my time judging my friends or acquaintances or associates in such a way that it's harmful to their lives. I think we miss that mark, specifically in Christianity. We spend a lot of time talking about the Bible and what God said and what we should do. We spend a lot of time focused on the old law, which is not applicable to us. And in that process, we completely shut people out. And I think that Christians as we know the Christian faith and as we know Christian people and the front face representation of us, we've created barriers where people just don't want any part of it. Mm-hmm. We've also created this, so when you talk about religion, you create this concept of, if I do this, God will do this. And it's a performance-based, situation. So grace is completely unconditional, and it's a gift. You don't perform for it. That's why, as far as I'm concerned, Jesus went to the cross. It's to grant us this perfect gift. It's to set us free from these barriers and these things that we tend to hold on to that makes it complicated to live a life that is free and loving. Faith in God is not supposed to be stressful. It's not supposed to be a headache. It's not supposed to be hard. We're supposed to be some of the most fruitful and dynamic and amazing people on this earth. And we're not, because we have, collectively we're not, because we have this practitioner mentality of our faith. It's not like that. It's here. Like, it starts in the heart. If that's not good,
it's obvious. It's obvious that you didn't become a Christian yesterday. Tell us about your. This is what they say in the your salvific story. When did you first know God?
So I was baptized when I was 13. That was, I would say, I've been in the church my whole life. Okay, so when I first established my relationship with Christ was around that age. That's when I desired to know more. That's when I actually wanted to go to church. Interestingly enough, my parents were divorced when I was 5. They were good friends, and they were good friends then. But what happened, they got married young. And then they both got saved. And then they got saved and realized we don't like each other. This might not be a good idea.
It's real.
Right. And so both of my sisters were gone away to college. And so I'm 5. And like I said, I had a very loving household. So I didn't really conceptualize. We're moving out of the house. And my dad is moving here. Like, it just was what it was. And it was fine. But we joined this church. And I think, as many women do when they get out of relationships, specifically long term, and at that age, my mom was 39, I think, 39, 40, and it's almost like finding yourself all over again. So we joined this church that was, in hindsight, really religious, like super religious. But that was interesting to me because I saw like this close-knit, it was a smaller church. So I saw this close-knit family. I saw what seemed to be a community of love, care, and concern. And I eventually, like I said, around 13, I wanted to be baptized, so that happened. Then I started to see things. It's almost like I grew up. Right. And so I left the church. My mom was still there, so on Sunday, my dad had this thing like, you got to go to church. It's like, I'm not going to church, I'm going to my sister's house. So that's what I did every Sunday, like almost all throughout middle school. I still believed in God, but there was no relationship there.
Let's press pause real quick. Okay. Tell us, what did you see?
I saw what we say isn't supposed to go on in the church. So I saw affairs. I saw people talking about people. I saw, teenagers doing things behind closed doors that we weren't supposed to do. And it was just all very confusing for me. And I saw this kind of like thirst and greed for worldly things.
So you saw hypocrisy.
All of it.
Gotcha.
And at 13, that's damaging, because I didn't tiptoe on atheism or anything like that, and to each his own. But I was just like, where many people are, where many adults are today, I was like, I don't need this. Like, I believe in God. I don't have to be here. I don't have to do this. And my mom, like many older people, they go through the motions. They have their faith. It's kind of like this old school mentality where Jesus will work it out. Like, will he? Because I don't think Jesus has anything to do with this.
pause right for a shameless plug. We will actually be having an event, The Conversation, in August, where we actually delve into this topic. I love God, but I quit church. And where we will be hopefully talking about some of these same things.
Awesome.
But go ahead.
Yeah, I would love to be a part of that.
You're going to get a personal invite.
Yes. But yeah, I was like, I don't have to be a part of this. And so I left, but just seeing all of that, it did something to me. One of the things that kind of took it over the edge, like these crusades and like tent revivals. Mm-hmm. So there were these people that came to the church from Florida, New York. I don't know where they were from, but they said they had this recording studio. They said they had all of these dynamic things. This is a small church. And so it's like, oh, this is our big opportunity. This is our breakout moment. They promised them like this big mass choir sort of recording and just all of these glamorous things they were supposed to have. And she was a female pastor. She fell into that whole situation. And so that became the dream. So she started chasing this, and every Sunday became a money talk. And everything was just, it was bizarre. Like, they were driving somewhere. It was, I remember, a school or a gymnasium in Gwinnett County, and they were filming like this movie. They were making this movie. It was just like all of this insane stuff. And I'm like, what is this? Like, not to say that a church can't be involved in a production or whatever the case may be, but I was like, what are we doing? What are we after? And when that happened, that's when I started to see all this stuff, like just up close and personal, because we spent a lot of time together. And I was like, no, I'm good on this. And I left, and my mom was not that thrilled about it. But I was like, it's not debatable. How do you, as a 13-year-old, tell her mom what she's not going to do? I did. I was just like, I'm not going back. Because it disrupted my soul. And I didn't need to be there. So I pretty much went my entire middle school years without actually attending a church. And then we, got connected to a church that she eventually left because it blew up, Mm-hmm. Everything kind of took a toll on people. Marriages were broken up. It was a major, major deal. But I got back on track as far as I'm concerned in high school. And then I had another stint with the same sort of, just, I don't need the church. I did that again in college.
You're listening to Your Soul Care Companion podcast with Marcus and Marion. Your Soul Care Companion podcast will soon be celebrating 1 year of podcasting. As we grow, we're looking for partners like you to grow with us. Join our community and sponsor episodes. Go to YourSoulCareCommunity.com and click on podcast for details.
It sounds like that was the beginning of like your own personal spiritual formation. One thing about Keesha that I admire so much is her vision for success. And we're often told that success looks a certain way. What does success look like for Keesha?
Success for me is just doing meaningful, impactful things that are important to you and that changes people's lives for the better. I think all of us, we're all capable of making, extremely high inflated salaries. We are anything that you can conceptualize and that you believe in, I essentially think you can accomplish that. But what is it for? So what's your driver? Some people are driven by money. Some people are driven by material things. And those things are great. They're wonderful. But success for me is an influence and an impact on our global society that changes lives for the better, that gives people hope in whatever their aspirations might be. We spend so much time being, people, sometimes they're conscious of it and sometimes they're not. But dream killing is real. It's a real thing. And I am completely against that. So, someone could tell me something completely off the wall. Do you believe in it? Is my first question. What do you want to do with it? What do you want to accomplish with it? I am dedicated to changing people's lives. That's not everybody's mission. That's not everybody's agenda. But if I've done that, and if I can do that, and if I can inspire and can uplift, And if I could do that like forever for the rest of my life, that's my success. That's my success story. So, and in everything that I do, and what a lot of people don't know is that I just resigned from my job.